In these few minutes, I just quickly want to remind you that you've been called not to live in captivity. You've been called to live in freedom. You've been called not to live under an oppression of chains. You've been called to live in freedom. You were not called to live in a cell. You were called to live in freedom. You were not called to live in entertainment. You were not called to be slave or captive of anything or anyone. No, you've been called to live in freedom. And that's what I want to tell you and remind you in this day. You've been called to be set free. You've been called to live in freedom. The enemy tries to find certain ways through entertainment, through certain words, through certain actions, through certain adversities to make us captive, because the enemy knows and the circumstances that if we are captive and if we are not living in freedom, what's inside of us cannot shine. The goodness, the grace of God, the love, the compassion will not be able to shine. That smile cannot be transmitted because you're living and you are oppressed and you are under the captivity of depression. That's why many of us find ourselves the way we find ourselves, because we are not living in freedom, but we are captive. We are living in captivity. But today I believe that changes. Today I believe that statistic changes. Today I believe God is turning that captivity around into freedom. Today we declare in the name of Jesus that any chains of sorrow are broken right now. Any cell number you may have been finding yourself in is destroyed right now by the power of God, because you've been called to do great things and you were not called to live in captivity. The enemy wants to have your mind captive so he can keep all of yourself captive. But today that changes. Today chains are broken. Today chains of depression, chains of sorrow, chains of sickness, chains of confusion, chains that have been hindering you and that have been keeping you from accomplishing God's purpose are changed in this very moment, are transformed for the goodness of God. You've been called to be set free. You've been called to be set free. You've been called to be set free. You've been called not to live under the captivity of depression, but to live under the freedom of joyfulness. You've been called to be a fulfilled life, a blessed life in God. In every single aspect and area of your life, we declare there will be freedom. We declare that all of those family members that you see in your family that are living under captivity are set free tonight. Over that son of yours that is addicted, that is captive under the drugs, he is being set free right now in the name of Jesus. Any family member, or maybe you that are watching, that are going through a sickness, that are going through a health problem, and you are captive to the sickness, you are captive to this health issue. Right now, I declare exactly where you are. You are being healed right now. You are being redeemed. You are being restored. You are being renewed. God is touching your heart. God is touching your feelings, and God is turning it around for you in this very moment. You've been called to be set free. You've been called to be renewed. You've been called for such a great time as this. So it is time, and we declare that after this video, no longer will you be oppressed. No longer will you be living under the chains of captivity, but that is broken right now in the name of Jesus. Any oppression, any depression, any low self-esteem, any emotionalism has to be broken right now, because it's God who lives in you, and it's God who wants you to live like Him in freedom, in fullness, in greatness, in blessing, in prosperity. In the name of Jesus, we declare this word over your life, and we know that you will be living in freedom because you've been called to be set free.